Yeah, yeah.
Okay, check. Shabbat Shalom. I have sad news. It's Rabbi Lockheim's final Friday night service. So if you don't like the choice in music tonight, blame it on him because we did ones that he likes. We're starting on
Yeah,
page.
but I didn't choose them.
No, we chose them for you. Page 90 of Shir HaNeshama, the new prayer book. What? And the words can also be found on a slide up there at some point. How beautiful is the Sabbath day. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Now you know it. Ma yafe hayom. Shabbat shalom. Ma yafe hayom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
I'd like to introduce our outgoing board member, Ben Goldberg, who has his presentation for this evening.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
My name is Benjamin Goldberg, and I am a member of the Kolami Board of Trustees. For
5 more minutes.
now. For information on upcoming events and on ways to become more involved with the congregation, we encourage you to read the weekly email newsletter and check out our website, ka-tucson.org, for all of our programming. My thought for the week is to recommend that every congregant visit their profile page on the Kolami website under the My Account tab and spend a few minutes to fill it out. If you wish, it is a way to provide the community with your contact information, business and professional background, and indications of interest in the many groups that we facilitate. There's even a place to upload your photo so we know what you look like too. After many years, my time on the board is soon coming to a close, and this is the last time I will be representing the board at services. It has been my honor and my pleasure to have hopefully served your needs and left the congregation a better place than when I began. Through the pandemic and the merger and the new rabbi, there have been many major changes to navigate, and we of the board have always tried to do our best. Thank you for letting me help in my way, and thank you also to all of those that have served. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I know. Sorry.
Thank you, Ben. Tonight, I want to welcome everyone in the sanctuary, those who are joining us online. The service that we're going to be using this evening is Song of the Soul prayer book, which is the thinner one in the pews in front of you. And it's my pleasure and honor to invite Marcia Lockheim and Jacob Lockheim to join with me to light the Shabbat candles on page 4. Page 4. You have a reading part. Yeah.
Sure. In the beginning, there was darkness, and the Spirit of God hovered over the darkness.
For some, darkness is a place of fear and of the unknown. For us, it is from darkness that the work of creation begins.
Then God created light, and the work of creation was begun.
As we kindle the Sabbath lights, we remember the majesty of creation and rejoice in our ability to be one with creation.
Light is the symbol of warmth and unity. It binds us together with Jews of all lands who are kindling the Sabbath lights.
These Sabbath candles give light to all who behold them. So may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us.
We light these candles to welcome this sacred day of joy and rest. As the candlelight illuminates us, we pray that we too may become a light in the darkness. We pray for the spiritual well-being of our families, friends, congregation, community, and world. With the lighting of these candles, we proclaim this space holy, and we proclaim this time holy.
Wait a minute.
Oh.
Hold on.
Did we get it? Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Which page is right? This one or this one? Is it page 5? Yeah. We continue on page 5 after the heckling stops. On this Sabbath Eve, we open ourselves to hear the message, so silent, carried to us by the still, small voice of God. Yedid nefesh av harachaman, Yedid nefesh av harachaman, Meshoch avdecha, el retzonecha, Meshoch avdecha, ya la 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 la, el retzonecha. Yarutz avdecha kemo aya, ishtachavei lai lai, el muhadarecha. Yarutz avdecha kemo aya, ishtachavei lai lai, el muhadarecha.
Page 7. We turn our attention toward a joyous ceremony of happy lovers. Our Sabbath bride enters our lives at this moment, and we're overwhelmed by her beauty, her gentleness, and her love for us. The Sabbath bride is resting in every heart. We smile softly as she enters. We breathe easily as we welcome her, and we close our eyes as we feel her gentle kiss upon our brow.
Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi
נקבלה, לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ושמו תפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, ראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. We rise to greet the Shabbat bride. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Please be seated. Page 9. A psalm, a song for Shabbat. It is good to give thanks to Adonai, to sing praises to your name, O Most High, to sing of your kindness in the morning and your faithfulness each night. With a 10-string harp, with voice and lyre together. Your works bring me joy, O God. I shout for joy at your handiwork. Everything you have made is great. Every thought of yours is profound.
The righteous bloom like a date palm. They thrive like a cedar in Lebanon.
Planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in the courts of our God.
In old age they will still produce fruit. They will be green and fresh as if to declare.
Adonai is upright, my rock, in whom there is no wrong.
Page 10. Adonai malach geut lavesh, lavesh Adonai ozit hazar, aftikon tevel baltimot, nachon kisacha me'az me'olam ata, noseu neharot Adonai, noseu neharot kolam, Yisun harot nochiam. Mikolot mayim rabim adirim mishpereyam adir. חירותיך נאמנו מאוד, לביתך נאווה קודש, אדוני לאורך ימים.
What was but moments ago the substance of our life has now become memory. What we did must now be woven into what we are. For on this day we shall not do, but be. We are to walk the path of our humanity, no longer ride unseen through a world we do not touch, and only vaguely sense. This is what Shabbat must be for us, not to tear the world apart, not to wrestle with time, but to let warmth and care and light come forth from deep within ourselves.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבם מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו Amen. We rise for the Baruch Hu on page 12. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Let us bless the source of all blessing. As we bless the source of blessing, so are we blessed forever and ever. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim v'chokhmah potech sharim uvitmuna mishanei itim umachalif et hazmanim umisader et hakochavim b'mishmorateim barakia kirtzono borei yom v'layla kolel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or umavir yom umevi laila umavdil ben yom uvein laila Adonai tzevaot shemo El chai v'kayam tamid yemloch aleinu leolam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai hamariv aravim. The bottom of page 13 together. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and commandments, judgments and laws. Therefore, eternal our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we'll meditate on your teachings. Rejoice in your Torah and your mitzvot forever, for they are our life and the length of our days, and we'll meditate on them day and night. May we always be aware of your love for us. We praise you, Adonai, who shows love to your people Israel and all the world.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated, and this is the last time I will say it that way. I'm going to do something that I haven't done since the first time I did a service with Rabbi Lockheim. I asked him right after the Shema, I said, do you mind if I say something? And he said, go right ahead. So I'm going to take the opportunity to say something now. There was a congregation that my parents visited in Eastern Europe long time ago. And they saw that people stood up for the Shema, people sat down for the Shema, everybody was doing something different, and they went up to the rabbi and they asked, what's the right thing to do? Are you supposed to stand for the Shema and the Ve'ahavta? Are you supposed to sit for the Shema and the Ve'ahavta? He said, well, I'm not sure what our tradition really is. Let's ask my father. He's 85 and he should know because he's been around for a long time. So they asked the rabbi's father, and the older rabbi said, well, I don't really know. Are we supposed to sit or stand for the Shema? Let's ask my father. He's 105. We'll have to wait for him to get up from his nap, but let's ask him. And he says, Papa, are we supposed to, what is the tradition in our congregation? Do we stand for the Shema or do we sit for the Shema? Well, that's not our tradition. We don't stand, we don't sit, we argue. Every congregation has a different tradition having to do with the Ve'ahavta. So from now on, what we're going to try is you may be seated after the Shema, before the Ve'ahavta, and if it's your tradition to sit, then sit. If it makes you happy to stand, please stand. Because in the Ve'ahavta it says, you shall say these words when you lie down, when you rise up, when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way. By this we understand you can do it in any position you like, not lying on the floor probably, but if you prefer to stand for the Ve'ahavta, we're never going to tell you you can't do that. All right? We are on page 14. Let's chant together. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech u'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
All this we hold to be true and sure. You alone are our God, and we, Israel, are called to your service. You do wonders without number and marvels that pass our understanding.
You keep our feet from faltering. You help us survive our daily struggles.
You did wonders for us in the land of Egypt, miracles and marvels in the land of Pharaoh.
We are free to lift up the fallen and bring healing to those suffering in our midst.
When Moses, Miriam, and the people stood at the shore of Freedom Sea, they sang this song with great joy.
Hi, di, 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 bye, bye, bim, bam. Mi chamocha bailim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar bakodesh, norati lo osefele, norati lo osefele, malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe, Ze'elianu ve'ameru, Adonai imloch leolam ba'ed. Ay, 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 bye, bye, bim, bam. Ay, 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 bye, bye, bim, bam. Ay, 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 bye, bye, bim, bam. Ay, 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 bye, bye, bim, bam. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גא ישראל. The words to Let There Be Love are on a slide. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu leshalom. Ve'ha'amidenu shomreinu lechayim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu, Eloheinu leshalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
I was watching an interview a few weeks ago of one of Sarah's and my favorite actors, a great Shakespearean actor, but for us, the captain of the Starship Enterprise, Patrick Stewart. And one of the things that was so wonderful about the interview, and I've heard him interviewed many times, but I never heard him say this, I think he was asked what his morning ritual was, and he wakes up every morning and he makes a cup of hot tea for himself. I'm sure Earl Grey hot, right? And reads a book for 15 minutes every morning. And he said that elevates his day. I tried that. I couldn't do it. But one of the things that we can do on Shabbat, on Saturday morning, maybe when you wake up tomorrow morning, is do something at the beginning of your morning to elevate your day. I've got this huge library, to my wife's grief, I think, in our office of all these books, and I've just brought a number of books home from the synagogue. But what I've done early in the morning on a Saturday morning, whether I prepared a sermon or not, you know when I haven't prepared one, is I'll just pick a book off the shelf on a Saturday morning, and I'll just open it up and just read a few passages or a paragraph or a chapter every Saturday morning. And it really elevates for me my preparation for Saturday morning in the day. So starting tomorrow, don't be Patrick Stewart, do it every day if you can, great. But elevate your Shabbat. It's a day of holiness. And if you can just take a moment of the day, no one's asking you to take the entire day, but take a moment at the very beginning and elevate the experience and see what happens week after week after week. Make it something special. We continue with Vishamru, page 17.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. We rise for the Amidah on page 18.
Adonai, שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Turn, O God, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. We continue silently through page 24, either standing or seated.
Say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru amen. Say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amen. Yaseh Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imeru Amen.
Yeah, baby. They're related.
He does rock. He does rock. So at this time in our service, we have this special prayer of healing of body, soul, and spirit. And if there are those, we're going to list on the slide of those who are on our Mishaberak list, who we've been praying for week after week. And I am checking to see who at home. Oh, someone said, "Who is that wonderful voice?" And Susan Kaplan responded, "Jacob Lockheim," and the person responded, "Wow." So we have at home someone who is offering a prayer of healing for Laura Labella. If there is anyone in our community here in the sanctuary, just raise your hand and I'll call upon you to mention names. Thank you. Thank you. Can you talk to me afterwards about Rabbi Darna? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. In the back. Thank you. Andy. How's she doing?
Good.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Len. Thank you. Karen. Thank you, Marcia. Well, we pray for her healing. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Julie Brandon.
Thank you. And Boyd Pomeroy, Barbara Zagel. Our Mishaberak prayer can be found on page 25. For those whose tradition is to rise, you may do so at this time.
Mishaberach Avoteinu Mekor habracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Please be seated. So this is a special Friday night, not just because it's my last as an active rabbi, but because Cantor had this wonderful idea of having members of our congregation who went to Israel together on this latest trip to Israel to talk about their experiences. And I wanted to add my personal note to this, and the question came up, do I speak first or do I speak last? And I just want to put this in a proper frame. In August, some of you recall that August 28, 1963, there was a march on Washington, D.C., and there were a lot of speakers that a lot of you don't remember or recall. But when Philip Randolph and Baynard Rustin were putting this March on Washington together, they gathered the representatives of some of the speakers who they wanted to speak, like James Farmer of the Conference for Racial Equality, John Lewis, who later became a congressman, who was working for the Committee for Nonviolence, Reverend Patrick Boyle, who was the Archbishop of Washington at the time, Dr. Eugene Blake, head of the Presbyterian Church, and of course Martin Luther King Jr. So all the representatives were there together to talk about in what order they should be speaking, and they were all arguing about who would go first and who would go last. And I can't remember who the representative was for Martin Luther King, but he remained silent for a while, and then he raised his hand and he said, do any of the clergy that you're representing, do you really want to follow Martin Luther King? So Marcia Lockheim is the last speaker. I am not going to follow her. So I just want to say rather briefly, and I just want to focus just on one city, which is the city of Jerusalem, where the place in 1981, Marcia and I met, and we fell in love with each other, and that's a whole nother story. But Jerusalem for us, for that and for so many reasons, represents such an incredible location in the world that has such power and such energy. And it's been a place that has been habitated for 6,000 years. And we all are aware that over that 6,000-year period, there have been ups and downs, and there's been violence, and there's been peace. But when the Israelites came into the land, it was to represent a center and a focus for not only the Jews of the world, but for the entire world population, a place of potential and aspiration and of great peace. And since 1981, Marcia and I have returned a number of times. And I think what I have felt, and especially with this last group that we brought, is that there's always been an attempt to unearth the bones of Jerusalem, that's ancient history, and to try and figure out how the people lived together in harmony and tried to do things together. And every generation tries to not only reveal those ancient bones, but actually those who are living there today are living with flesh and blood coursing through it. And there is this hope that there will be the peace that we all hope will be derived not only in that particular place, but for humanity in general. And when we go through the Old City and through the Arab quarter and the Armenian quarter and the Christian quarter, and we see these attempts at collaboration and attempts to bring people together in very dynamic ways, it is this hopeful vision for me that there can be something hopeful for all of humanity. And especially with our group that we brought this year, a very diverse group, as you're going to hear in just a couple of moments. Most of our groups are somewhat harmonized. This was not. But for all the right reasons. And there was such an amazing dynamic, and especially having Cantor Cohen there was brilliant and so wonderful, not only with her voice, but the harmony, literally, not just musically, that she brought to our group. The energy that she brought was so engaging, and it helped make this experience be one of the most terrific experiences for all of us. All right, so that's me. You'll hear Marcia in a moment. But I'd like to start with Joy Miller-Freelow, who is going to start us off.
So I wrote this piece, but I'm going to read it so that I don't forget to tell you anything. I just loved all of Israel, but I was particularly amazed at the Shimon Peres Center for Peace. We had a 90-minute tour in which we began in a chair with the specially programmed goggles that presented a new world of innovations and planned innovations to the viewer. You could see different ways of transportation and medicine. It was just so amazing. By way of explanation, the center advances Israel as a startup nation in a startup region, promoting harmony between Israel and the Palestinians in the high-tech sectors, with connecting with young innovators and young change makers through the Middle East and North Africa. I was so impressed with a new Israeli-developed operation that placed a microchip in the retina of an 88-year-old grandmother who was suffering from macular degeneration and was able, was able to see her grandchildren for the first time.
Arlene Kuderoff.
So I may not be as eloquent as Joy and many of the other individuals. I was suggested to keep it short and sweet. And as some of you who know me, which is a shock, but I'm going to try. So I kind of just this was my third time, and part of what was important to me was the opportunity for the 3 times I've been to Israel with 3 very different experiences with Tom and Marcia and many other participants. I see people from our second trip right here, hello, and others, and Harriet from the first. And so each trip has given me different experiences and some similar experiences and joy. But it's really touched my heart to be able to have these 3 times with the Lockheims, and particularly knowing that, you know, he's moving on to, you know, a new experience in life. Yay! Okay. So the second thing for me that was interesting, I mean, I'm not going to go into the sites. This is the 3rd time I've seen some of these sites, and there were some new things, and I will talk about one of them. But the second thing that was so important for me and that I was excited about is Harriet will know that we had the same tour guide that we had on our first trip, Hillel Meyer. And this man brings such love and joy to my soul. He's the most interesting man. This is which fits from our service last week for Pride, that a gay Orthodox man who has 2 sons that he co-parents with their mother, and they are very good friends, and has a partner. And he, you know, I've been on his Facebook page. Pardon?
Who's really cute.
Oh, well, I didn't want to go there. But since Tom I would never question Tom's opinion. So, which is really true. He was really hot, frankly. But, however, moving on, but, you know, to know how he is dealing with the changes in Israel, which, if you think it's bad here in the United States, some of the stuff that's going on in Israel politically with regards to gays, one of which is the Orthodox want to make it illegal for 2 men to live together. Okay, yeah, it's really wonderful. So the last thing that was one of the first times I've been to was the site called Yad Lakashish, which is an organization that has developed over a number of decades that has brought in elder refugees and given them a place and a purpose in life. And they have created over time these amazing opportunities for them to do different crafts based on what their skill levels are. And so they have a gift shop. They make jewelry and knitting and arts and crafts and ceramics, and I could go on and on. And they have a gift shop, and it's online, and you can buy. And many of us who were there had quite the pleasure of shopping in that gift shop. So, so that is my, my experience in Israel. And thank you so much. And I believe next is
Dale Whitmore.
Come on down.
Memories of Israel. Soft sand, warm water, beautiful flowers, street cats. I'm proud to be a Jew. Coming home there to my culture, my history, my people. History, herstory. Engineering, math, science, art, music, language, technology. Seashells and salt rocks. All ages out at night, peacefully. Shekels. I'm not in the minority for the first time in my life. The power of water to turn desert into vineyards. Lo Yisagoi, turning swords into plowshares or armaments into sculptures. The past, the present, the future. Oneness. I've lived here before. Morning muscle warm-ups and stretches in the hotel lobby. Singing notes as a solo in Herod's outdoor amphitheater, which had perfect acoustics. Dancing a solo. Eli, Eli at the home of Hannah Senish. Smoothed stones at the western wall from a million women's hands. Adonai Roi, for all those who want to be here or wanted to be here and can't be here, never can be here. Women praying in the aqueducts. Tears for the 800 at Masada. Hasid street musicians. Friendships new and old. The food, abundant and fresh. Open markets, expert guides, vibrant, alive, committed to peace. I felt safe, not just from violence, but from prejudice. No one was going to spit at me and call me a dirty Jew, trip me, steal from me, attack and assault me, beat me up, leave me bruised and shaken on the floor, call me a Nazi, all of which has happened to me. I was safe. I was among my people, my family. Even now, here I think before wearing my Star of David out in public, will I be treated differently, called names, ridiculed, ostracized? In Israel, I didn't worry, and I didn't realize what a blessing that was until just a few days ago. I felt comfortable. I felt like I belonged. I am changed.
Thank you, Dale. And Valdine Cohen. Levy. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Cohen Levy. Aren't they all the same? Valdine, you're next. Sorry.
I am grateful for everybody that went on that trip, because when I got tired, I was doing this, and I had the hand of anybody that would lend me a hand. Okay, I liked the Jeep tour of the Golan Heights. My husband and I were going to go there one time, but because of disturbances up there, we were unable to go. But when the man said that we have just come up on top of a volcano, so we were staying in the caldera. You couldn't tell that it was a caldera. So we looked, we gazed across the Golan Heights and into Syria from the top of Mount Bental. This is where the Six-Day War of 1967 was fought. We visited a bunker in the valley. We drove from the top of the Golan Heights down into it, and there was a bunker that had a lot of graffiti in it. And we were staying at the Miram Golan Resort. Miram Golan, which is in the crater of the volcano, a very large cauldron. A man gave a talk about the challenges Israel faces on its northern borders. And I just said we visited a bunker with. I enjoyed it. There was a couple of times when I went back to the hotel because this old kid was zonked out. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, regardless of the bumps.
Thank you, Feldine. Nancy Goodman is next.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Since I was old enough to read about the Holocaust in Jewish history, I've wanted to visit Israel, but life's always gotten in the way. Boy, it's a lot less nerve-wracking when you're not doing your bat mitzvah up here. It's so nice, I'm just reading English. Sorry, it just hit me. Then last year, I finally accomplished the #1 item on my bucket list, to become a bat mitzvah. And thanks to Cantor Cohen, I was able to achieve that. #2 was to go to Israel. So when Rabbi Tom and Marcia proposed this first-timers trip to Israel, I didn't have to think. I immediately knew I wanted to participate. I'm so grateful for Rabbi, Marcia, and Cantor, Janice, for putting this trip of a lifetime together. The trip was packed from morning till evening with all the most important places for us to see, which some of them you've just heard about. Our guide Hillel couldn't have been more phenomenal, as he not only brought us to these sites, but he provided his in-depth knowledge and history of what we were going to see. The trip was profoundly educational, spiritual, and so meaningful. Our trip was made even more incredible by having services on the platform by the Western Wall for Shavuot and with Rabbi and Cantor. We had the most beautiful Havdalah service within the walls of the old city of Jerusalem. Strangers walking by actually joined our service, which just made it feel so much more powerful. A very special moment for me personally was praying and touching the wall and thinking about my mom, who most of you knew, who passed away last September. She'd always wanted to go to Israel, but she never made it. But I placed a folded up picture of her and my 5 kids in the wall, so I feel like she's there. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. And Sandy Del Casal.
Before I begin, I want to tell you the last night when we were all around the table, I asked Rabbi if I could do what I do with my family when we're together. What was your highlight? So to hear everybody's different experiences is so touching. I had the honor and privilege to be part of the Kol Me 2023 Israel trip. I could never put in a few words my thoughts, feelings, and emotions being a first-timer to Israel. But I would like to share my favorite excursion when we visited Yad Kashish, a day program for the low-income elderly, Holocaust survivors, and immigrants. And I want you to know, my dear and oldest friend, Arlene, we did not discuss this. So it's interesting that we both had the same experience. The participants are trained by local artists to make handmade wares to be sold in the gift shop. Although there was a language barrier, the radiant smiles were heartwarming. After all, isn't that what we all want and need in life, at any age, to be valued, loved, and have a purpose? I could truly sense through the whole time that that mission was 100% met. The welcoming signage, which is a psalm on the building, read, "Do not forsake me when I grow old. When my strength fails, do not abandon me." I immediately asked somebody to take a picture of me and sent it to my son and daughter. And please later ask Rabbi about his knitting. It's a great story. As our amazing guide, who everybody's been talking about, Hillel, stated, this is not an experience, but a journey. And I will treasure this journey in my heart and soul forever and ever. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Andy Elkins.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I promised Janice I would only say 2 sentences. 3 if I want?
Wait,
Oh,
that
can I
was
do
already
3?
1.
Okay, all right. Not going to do that. My dream my entire life was fulfilled when I joined this tour. I had always wanted to go to Israel. I got to go to Israel. I loved Israel, every minute of it, every minute. So those are my words.
5 sentences. That was great.
They were very short sentences.
They were great. And Marcia Lockheim. Oh, Cynthia. Yay, Cynthia.
This morning, I got Wordle in 2 guesses.
What? What?
Okay. A nice Jewish boy who grew up in Michigan, majored in psychology at the University of Michigan, and then went to the University of Chicago where he studied painting. Winds up in Safat, Israel, a bearded Rebbe and Kabbalist. Hard to know how this happens. A 20-something non-Jew who visited Israel and fell in love. 40 years later, Batya is an Orthodox Jewish mother of 4 who leads tours at the Western Wall in Jerusalem. A liberal but Orthodox, kippah-wearing gay tour guide, devoted to his 2 young sons and digging himself out of an economic hole caused by 2 years of COVID travel restrictions. A handsome Sabra, father of a young daughter, getting married in only 5 days, and thrilled to be taking a break from wedding planning to go to the fortress of Masada, of all places. A devout Haredi, ultra-Orthodox musician, concerned he has only 2 hours a day to devote to his Torah studies. A war museum docent who lost his father in the battle over Jerusalem in 1967 when he was only 10 months old, and who finds meaning now in his father's sacrifice. Some of these stories of Israel will stay with me a long time after I've forgotten the dates and details of wars and empires. This was my first trip to Israel, and it was full of incident, activities, lectures, museums, ancient sites, great food, the best stories. I will never forget our time there. Thanks to the temple and all who took part.
Thank you, Cynthia. That's great.
Before I get back to Israel, I have to say he has more books than I have shoes and purses. So we have a storage problem. This was such an interesting group of people. Just everybody was so different and had so many background experience. It was just unlike any other group that we had taken. It was just so, everybody had a different kind of a story, and it was really wonderful. Andy bought a kippah and wore it religiously, and it was very interesting to see the reactions of Israeli men and women when they would look at her and they go, yeah, she's a girl. And they were trying to figure out, you know, because they had never really seen women wearing a kippah, and that was really, I don't know if you even realized that, but that was going on all the time that we were walking. Yeah. And my highlight also is always Jerusalem, just because that's where we met, and it's just, there's something about the city and the old city that is just very moving. And I've had experiences on this trip that I never had before with Valdine, which was kind of nice. So she got a little dehydrated, and we ended up in the emergency room in Svat, and the two of us got to bond over very handsome Jewish doctors who pretended to speak English. So that was a real issue, but I don't know, am I missing anything? It was a wonderful experience, and wonderful to be able to take you to Yad L'Kashish, where Tom, as a student, volunteered in 81, 82, and it was a whole, obviously, different group of older people, and many of them at the time were Holocaust survivors. So this is a whole different group. There was an Ethiopian man there this time who was doing paper mache, and it's just very interesting what they were doing to make sure that people felt really involved. And I just want the group to know how much I appreciate going and how wonderful it was to experience with all of you. So thanks.
I told you.
And having the cantor with us was really extra special, because we were able to sing in places that normally we wouldn't have done that, except that the cantor was there. So thank you for adding so much.
So now just for a few moments, I know we're running a little bit late in our service, but we always have a Shekianu moment, something special that may have occurred to one of you, either at home. You can send me a quick something on the Zoom link, or someone in the congregation. If something happened this week that was something special.
Lainey, you have to tell about
Ben, you
your
were
award.
laughing, so what have you got that's special?
Yay.
Excellent. Well, we know how important redoing a bathroom is. Lainey, I talked to you this morning. You want to share with the group this very important recognition you received?
Yay.
And the education is related to what age group? Right, so she's educating high school kids, so she got special recognition by the Arizona Bar Association, so congratulations on that. Marcia. You do FaceTime with your grandkids in Bethesda, yeah?
Nice.
She did a modani for you on FaceTime. Love your their 4-year-old grandchild. Wonderful. All right, so all right, last one. Go ahead.
Well, John.
Lovely, Tohono Chul Park.
Great.
No, no, that's lovely. So what was the highlight at Tohono Shul for you? Just being there. It's a great thing to do on a day off, but very special.
Tom,
Great.
John had something.
Who did?
John.
John, please. Oh, John, how wonderful. Was it wonderful? Wonderful. Congratulations. All right, so Cantor's going to lead us in the Shekianu, page 62. Page 62.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
Reminder for those who are joining us at home, please send your names for Kaddish to the Zoom link or in the chat section on whatever platform you're on. We're going to continue now with the Aleinu, page 64. The Aleinu is page 64. Please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. At the bottom of page 65, I think it's a perfect lead-in. In many synagogues across the nation, there is a recognition that on Monday is Juneteenth, June 19th, which is the recognized Freedom Day for formerly enslaved individuals after the Civil War. And this reading here at the bottom of 65 is a nice lead-in to the introduction to our observance of this. So we hope that divisiveness and distortion, pride and prejudice will disappear from our world. Eternal God, we face tomorrow with hope made stronger by the vision of your realm, a world where poverty and war are banished, where injustice and hate cannot abide. Teach us more and more to share the pain of others, to heed your call for justice, to pursue the blessing of peace. Help us, O God, to prevail over all that is evil, so that we may bring near the day when all the world shall be one. So for those who aren't aware, the congregation is observing the federal holiday of Juneteenth this coming Monday. And it's a day that commemorates the freedom for slaves after the Civil War, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. In 1865 in Galveston, Texas, it was Union Army General Gordon Granger who informed the slaves in Galveston, 250,000 of them, that they were free by executive order, and that at the end of the war, beginning in 1865, predominantly this led across the nation for enslaved people to seek reunification of their families, establish schools for themselves, try to attain public office for themselves, and also suing former slaveholders for compensation. And then the 13th Amendment was passed in 1865, and in 1980, Texas, I believe, became the first state to recognize Juneteenth, and in 2021, Congress passed its ratification of Juneteenth to be a federal holiday as well. We're going to have a slide put up, I believe, of a reading before our Kaddish that was written by the Jewish Multiracial Network, and I'll share that with you at this time. Creator of life, source of compassion, your breath remains the source of our spirit, even as too many of us cry out that we cannot breathe. Lovingly created in your image, the color of our bodies has imperiled our lives. Black lives are commodified yet devalued, imitated but feared, exhibited but not seen. Black lives have been pursued by hatred and abandoned by indifference and betrayed by complacency. Black lives have been lost to the violence of the vigilante, the cruelty of the marketplace, and the silence of the comfortable. We understand that black lives are sacred, inherently valuable, and irreplaceable. We know that to oppress the body of the human is to break the heart of the divine. We yearn for the day when the bent will stand straight. We pray that the hearts of our country will soften to the pain endured for centuries. We will do the work to bind up the wounds, to heal the shattered hearts, to break the yoke of oppression. As the beauty of the heavens is revealed to us each day, may each day reveal to us the beauty of common humanity. And let us all say, Amen. So at this time, we are going to participate, for those who wish, in the ritual of taking a pebble from the table in front of you here and placing in your hand. For those who are saying Kaddish for a loved one, this symbolic ritual is taking this stone, placing it in your hand, and symbolically feeling the impact of the person for whom you're saying this prayer, this Kaddish prayer, for to remind you of the impact that is still enduring in your lives. And then you can take the pebble and place it on the table. So for those in our sanctuary who are saying Kaddish for a loved one this week, you may come forward with this ritual. When you hear the name of your loved one mentioned, we ask if you are able to please rise. Linda Greenberg was laid to rest this past week, mother of Scott and Gary Greenberg, sister of Harriet Kramer. Linda Capon Gross, sister of Lois Aformas, mother of Jesse Smith and Leslie Silverman. Betty Crone, Fran Packenham's aunt, was laid to rest today. We also observe the Shloshim, those who died within the past 30 days. Shelby David Silverman, Mary Hahn, Henry R. Mandel, Betty Orman, David Auslauer, Ann Cohn, Rachamim Ben Sara, Alice Garber, Sylvia Paley, Stephen Robertson, and Vicki Meyerson. We also recognize those who died at this season in years past: Morris Abrams, Herbert Arnstein, Paul Ash, Moshe Ben David, Ira Burke, Stanley Bernstein, William Bernstein, Phyllis Broad, Abram Brownstein, Dora Clare, Flora Cohen, Jerome Cohn, Sally Eisenberg, Arthur Furliger, Aaron Forsch, Regina Frank, Howard Gerson, Harry Gilberg, David Glasser, Lucille Goldberg, William Goodman, Florence Gottlieb, Eva Greenberg, Anna Groper, Carl Groper, Bess Grossman, Eugene Hammeroff, Harry Horwitz, Ida Camero, Sidney Kay, David Kessler, Dorothy Korn, Sam Lakin, Larry Levy, Lois Mandel, Stuart Medoff, David Mishkind, Alfred Perlman, Adelaide Rabin, Morton Reich, Betty Rada, Frida Rubel, Sarah Saltzman, Matthew Sandlin, Evelyn Schimmel, Jacob Shafton, Louis Schiffner, William Silverman, Lee Silverstein, Marilyn Splansky, Mortimer Stern, Pearl Tankelowitz, Tia Tirfenbrunn, Louis Ulrich, Jacob Bernick, Pearl Weissman, Peter Wortman, Blanche Zine. If there is anyone in our sanctuary who is saying Kaddish for a loved one, for someone whose name was not mentioned, would you please rise and mention those names at this time? Dale. Thank you. Sandy. Thank you. Andy? Thank you. Thank you. Was there anyone else? So we ask our community to please rise and join these loved ones. The Kaddish prayer can be found on page 68. Page 68. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
B'alma divra chirutei v'yamlik malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye d'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala ubizman kariv v'yimru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam ulomeo maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar, v'yitalev, v'yitalal, shmei dekudasha brechu. Le'elo minko birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran b'yama v'yimru Amen. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru Amen.
V'yimru, v'yimru, v'yimru Amen. V'yimru, v'yimru, v'yimru Amen. Please be seated. Our closing song is on page 23. and I don't usually do puns in Hebrew, but this one is kind of a play on words. Shalom Rav means grant us abundant peace, but it also means shalom, Rabbi. So I'm going to ask you to join me in singing Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Get out those flashlights. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lecho hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lecho hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol et ubechol shah bishlomecha. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Baruch atah Adonai hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Just silly.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. And we'll do the complete one in there quickly later. Ready? You're up.
L'chaim. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
You're dismissed.